Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be our monthly ASIC pricing update video. This is going to be for July 2024. And in this series, what we do is we are looking for deals, right? So we look at a pretty extensive list of ASICs. We're looking for trends. Are things starting to go downwards? Are they going upwards? Are they getting more expensive? They're getting cheaper? Kind of what's going on in the market realistically, just to find those deals, okay? So we're not going to go through every single ASIC, but what we do is I personally go through them and I pick out the ones that did kind of go down a bit or had a price change, right? Or if they went up significantly, which this month, all things that kind of went down a little bit, right? So we're going to talk about those deals we found and kind of just look at trends because that's going to give us insight as to what's coming next, okay? So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned. Let's get to this thing. So we're just going to take a quick little peek at the market before we fully get started. Currently, BTC is a much better place than we were last month. Currently, we're at 67,000. Market is generally bullish. A lot of things going on. A lot of volatility also, right? You can see here there was just a lot of things going on this past week. And things were just volatile, right? A lot of these drops have been just sudden drops, sudden increases. Nothing crazy though, right? It's like 3 to 5%. Which is kind of funny to see people get so bearish when we were dropping like 3% or something like that. Just because, again, at the current price at 67, we're like within 10% of all-time high, right? So it's really hard to be bearish at this point. And then even timeline-wise, again, we're in July, but we're at the end of July. We're like a few days away from August, where anything can happen, right? Literally anytime between now and the next like 4 or 5 months, anything can happen, right? So I'm going to play it by ear, but overall, things are pretty bullish. A lot of the alts are doing well. Some still haven't recovered from the dips from the previous months. Some have, right? Kind of showing which ones are strong, which ones are not so strong, but there's still a lot of buying opportunities, right? So that's the kind of the key thing. I know people are like, they want to see that up only number, but realistically, I'm down with it being like this just because it's giving me more time to stack, right? So you have to look at it both ways. So when we look at profitability overall, currently the biggest change has been the introduction of these Alephium ASICs. Okay, so now specifically the AL1, you're gonna see this probably by the next time we do this video, it would hopefully already have been maybe shipped. It'll be the beginning stages, but until that does happen, we're gonna continue to see this crazy profitability number, $735 for the AL1, and again, it's just because that's only going to be if you get one now and you're the only one who has one. That is what it'll make. But by the time it is released, it's going to drop significantly. By what extent, we don't really have a clue as to how many units are going to come out. We don't know if it's going to be a couple hundred, a couple thousand. We don't know, but that can cause drastic fluctuations. Okay, it can be a quarter of that, or it can be a 20th of that, right? It's just really going to depend how many units come online between bitmain, iceriver, and Goldshell, who are all making these things, okay? And right now, currently, the bitmain units and the Goldshell units will be releasing sometime the end of August, so probably won't be in hand until first, second week of September, and then we'll really have an idea, okay? So that's definitely one big difference. The other big difference, though, the big drop in profitability, in fiat profitability of those Kaspa ASIC miners. And it's not because of Kaspa's price dropping. As a matter of fact, it's gone up. It's doing pretty good right now. It's pretty close to all-time highs currently. The difference has been the freaking hash rate mooning. Okay, it's gone up massively, and it's only going to continue to go up, especially here in a few weeks when those bitmain units, the KS5, and 5 Pros from that cheaper August batch actually start shipping, okay, which is going to be anytime here in the next few weeks. So the pain is definitely not done. So it's going to continue to go down, which is what we expected, though. Again, it's not something that was out of the realm of possibility. It's something we kind of knew. It's just happening a little bit sooner. Did not think it was going to go up this fast, this quickly, but we'll see to what extent, right? Our guesstimate, what we're kind of basing everything off of, is 750 petahash by the time those bitmain units come out. At this point, it will not be surprising to actually see it go beyond that. Okay, so pretty crazy stuff there. But for example, last month or the past few months, it's been in the $80 to $100 range. It's currently $50 for the KS5 Pro right now. So factor those things in. The benefit here would be is if things do kind of chop sideways, for at least a few weeks, at least till the KS5, KS5 Pro is out. Maybe we can see some continued price drops on these Kaspa ASICs, right? Which is actually some of the ones we have featured, because some of those did drop a little bit. Not a whole lot, but it's starting to show that if it's dipping now, if we continue to either chop sideways or go down, or realistically, even if it does go up slightly, if it stays here, the fiat profitability is going to continue to go down just because of that hash rate, right? So if Kaspa's price action does struggle, it does go back down to the 17 or even lower, couple that in with the hash rate increase, that profitability is going to go down. Chances are prices may go down a bit, right? Especially for these recent releases, that's what would be ideal. The KS5L, maybe the KS5, KS5 Pro, even though it did just have that massive cut, it's potential there, right? I wouldn't necessarily bank on it, but it's there, right? So something to factor in with Mind the ASIC for any guys who caught those DR7 videos we did, right? We did one right when it was announced. We did one just a few days ago, seeing the aftermath of like the hash rate increase and everything. And what we noticed was during both videos, which spanned across a period of about a month, the profitability on Mind the ASIC for that DR7 was incorrect. Okay, so initially we called them out. During that first video, we tweeted out, we didn't get a response. After that second video, did actually do another tweet, and they did respond to that one. Okay, they responded to that one on the 24th, and by the 26th, by the time they responded, they did correct it. So they corrected it from the time of this tweet to the time of their tweet. What was kind of like, so their response, let's read their response. So thanks for the feedback, or let's see what we said. So we said it's been incorrect. It's been incorrect for quite a while. You misled so many or misinformed so many, which that was my frustration, right? Realistically, I care less, but the fact that you are really misinforming people to a pretty extreme, because again, even when I did the last one, it was #1 for profitability, which we all knew was incorrect for quite a while because people already had these things in hand for a few weeks. So we know it wasn't that. But their response to it was, thanks for the feedback. We checked with our data source. The data is correct. Not that they corrected it now, but they're saying that the data is correct, implying that it's been correct. Okay. Each website has different data sources and ways of calculating revenue, so it's normal to have differences. Absolutely. And it's even possible, you know, for the API to be outdated, to be a day or two. Completely get it. But his thing was wrong for an entire month. Okay, it's not something that was correct this whole time like you're making it seem. So my annoyance here is like, just own up to it. Be like, okay, yeah, we messed up, we checked it, and now it's up to date. But for them to act like it had been correct the whole time, when again, we did videos showing it that it was incorrect both times through a 30-day span, not a fan of that kind of stuff, right? So, I mean, there's no like correction from here, right? Because again, we tweeted them both times, we saw the things, they responded to that, and that's their response to it. Okay, but again, it's in our videos, and as a matter of fact, it's in there 3 times, because we did the DR7 video, I did it in the pricing update video for that month, and that third one. Okay, so it's not that it was correct the whole time. Absolutely was not correct the whole time. You guys saw that, it corrected it, and now it's correct. Okay, so you come up to your own conclusion, but not a fan of that kind of bullshit. Right, so gonna continue to use them currently just because they're the only one that does show yield on here, which again, that's my biggest thing. It's the easiest way to kind of like look at different things. Try to get at mining now for them to show the yield here, and that way once they do, we'll fully switch over, just because again, I'm not a fan of that answer at all whatsoever. That's the incorrect way, but to each your own. But again, realistically, we're here for the data, right? And unfortunately, the data's not always accurate, and that's what we do. Always have to double check. Like in the response tweet from my part, I even told them that. I was like, it is completely fine for it to be abnormal. There's always going to be variations, but that's different. And there's certain ones on there that I've been trying to get at them to fix also that have been incorrect for months. Like their HS3 profitability, that has been off since the release of that thing. That thing's been out for 1.5 years. It's been incorrect that whole time, right? We also saw with the K7, the last time we talked about it, their API with the pricing was wrong. So just something to take note of. But realistically, the play here is that you should always use multiple calculators. Use theirs, go on what to mine, go on mining now. You have to come up with a consensus, unfortunately, especially if you're gonna use that as fact, or use that as like as a actual reference for whether or not you're going to make an investment in something, right? You want to make sure it's accurate. Okay. But just something to note of there. I was just a little annoyed by that response there. But let's get to these prices. So let's get to some of the changes. So I will have a referral link in the description for Nhash if any of you guys are interested. Again, they are my preferred store. The reason I like them is because they typically have the best prices, right? They're one of the major stores. I've purchased from them personally, again, anonymously, successfully, 0 issues, good customer service. So that's why I continue to use them. And we typically, that's who we use just because, again, they're the best price, right? So in this case, we are going to compare a few stores. Typically, I do like to compare them with like Miner Bros and such, just because, again, that's typically kind of like the standard. That's what most people tend to associate when they like think about prices, and that's who they reference, right? But anyways, let's look at some of these prices. So the iceriver AL0, this is that new Alephium unit from iceriver. MSRP is $7.99. Shipping's like $60 or so, so it comes up to about $8.50 shipped. So Nhash, their shipping price is higher though, so factor that in. So factor in the prices here do not include shipping, but it's $7.49, $100 shipping, so $8.49. If you were to buy multiple units, 5+, it goes down to $6.99, so it goes down to $7.99 shipped. Okay, pretty good price if you're gonna be ordering that many. Which initially I didn't want, but realistically, after thinking about it, I think I might go in a little bit harder. My play would be to get it at launch. So again, to get first batch, it could make sense. What I really want though is if iceriver releases a mid-tier unit, that would be most ideal, like a AL1, AL2, something in between. They may just release another big boy, but again, I don't want to spend 20K on one of these ASICs. I would rather take less risk and get like a mid-tier to lower tier. If that doesn't happen, if it doesn't come out on release day, I feel confident, I can almost guarantee they're going to release different models. Like, we don't know to what extent. We don't know if it's just going to be AL0 and like a high-end unit, or if it's going to be something like a AL1, like something, or AL2 kind of deal, right? But if it doesn't come out at launch, like if it doesn't get announced here in the next few days, one of these days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or sometime next week, I may end up just doing this and just kind of risking for the biscuit. Because again, it's only going to be worthwhile to get in before the hash rate goes up massively. Okay. My thought process with this is, again, we don't know how many AL1s are going to get released. That's kind of what everybody's making. I'm like, oh, what if 2,000? And that's what I did, right? I'm looking at worst case scenario. The game changer here, though, is, to me, iceriver kind of cock-blocked them a little bit, just because the efficiency as well as the price to terahash is very close with this guy. To me, the announcement of this guy, the pricing of this guy is going to steal a lot of those sales away, because it just makes more sense to buy little chunks of it instead of having to invest the 30, 32K in that big unit. Okay, so I don't think that many people are going to be buying that AL1 because of this thing. Okay, some people are. They're going to want the top end thing. They're going to want density, which is why I kind of don't want to buy these many things. But if nothing comes out from iceriver on that first batch, may just get a few more of these things. Okay, so we'll see what ends up happening. The other play would be for the AL1 is, if a lot of units do come online, the freaking profitability gets like smashed, then chances are the AL1, or if iceriver does release that bigger unit, may come in heavily discounted afterwards, right? But again, there's a lot of things that play with that mindset, because like, okay, what if a lot of units do come online, or what if not that many do and it still does remain fairly profitable, and then the Alephium's price starts mooning? Like, there's a lot of things at play, right? So that's why I wouldn't want to go in crazy hard. I would consider getting quite a few of these things, but again, only if I can get in on that first batch, right? Just to kind of take advantage of my theory that maybe not that many units, maybe it's in the hundreds versus the thousands of the AL1s, at least initially. Maybe get it, try to recoup as much as I can in those 3 months. Like, I don't think I'm going to recoup the full $800 or $750 or whatever in those 3 months, but it's just accruing a lot during that time, and then I'm going to be holding it anyway. So between that, the hardware write-off, just accruing during that time, that may make it worth it, right? So we'll see how that plays out, but at this price point, it is pretty intriguing, right? So we'll have to wait and see. But again, realistically, I want iceriver to release a mid-tier unit. Would really, really, really like that. But just one to think about there. Another one I'm eyeing carefully because, again, I have room for one more ASIC. It's going to be one of two things. I'm pretty set on this. It's probably going to be either script ASIC or an Alephium ASIC, okay? And initially, it was deadlocked on L9, but I am open to a DG1 Plus if the pricing makes sense. And in this case, there was a little drop here. It is down to 9,200 bucks for the big boy, okay? This is the 14 gigahash, not the 14.4, the 14. But my thing is, I don't want to pre-order L9 just because, again, what kind of like turned me off big time are all those future pre-orders at those much cheaper prices. Okay, obviously it's going to make more sense to potentially wait for one of those, maybe. My mindset though is that there's potential that once spot availability is here, prices may go down a bit, right? We've slowly been seeing them trickle down. A lot of them have them now in the like 10.5 range now. We're going to have to wait and see what happens there. Okay, because the soonest or the earliest of the cheaper batches is not till November. I don't really want to wait till November. I'm curious as to what spot allocation is, what spot prices are, and then if there's anything for like October, September, what prices are for those releases. Okay, that's kind of where more of my appeal is. Just because ideally, if I do get another one, I want it sooner than later. Like I want it by like September at the pretty much absolute latest. If I decide to get another one, which I'm pretty sure I am, right? Because ideally then at that point, it can potentially give me about 12 months of stacking coins, right? Just between timing the potential near top of the next market. And ideally, I do want it to be something that's more stable, like potentially more profitable throughout that entire time, right? And I would feel more comfortable with a script ASIC. Okay, so like realistically higher on my list is like a L9 or one of these things, right? Just because potentially and realistically I do need more stability in my fleet. Right now it's all freaking much higher risk altcoins, right? It's very, very risky. It would be nice to have something more stable. Even if it's not as flashy as the others, I do feel it's going to be just more profitable throughout not only potentially the rest of this bear leading into the bull, but potentially even throughout the whole bull, right? And even potentially beyond into the next bear, just like we did see with the L7. Okay, so who freaking knows though? Maybe these things dip so much that people scoop them up like crazy and the hash rate goes through the roof and that kind of goes out the window a little bit. Who knows? The other play also for me that I'm considering and why I do want to get it sooner than later if I were to get one is the fact that things like unminable, right? Where you can use it, throw it on there to earn. In my case, what I would do with it is if Alephium's price is still low, stack Alephium, right? So there's different theories. That's another thing you got to keep in mind with these ASICs. Yes, it's only going to mine that algo, but you can always swap the coins into anything else. Like realistically, what kind of holds me back with script is I'm not super bullish on holding Doge, but I am bullish on the profitability aspect, the fact that it has been holding well. But it's hard to say, man. Like there's a lot of variables at play, but I just would like something more consistent, a little less degen-y, right? So interesting here. So yeah, very curious to see if there's a little price battle, right? So that's the main thing here. We're going to be watching the price of this guy as well as the L9. If the L9 does cut a little bit, are they going to cut a little bit more? Are they going to do this thing until prices start going upward, right? And this is kind of the risk to reward right now. Understand this also. Again, we're at the end of the July. We're leading into August. At any given moment, we can have that moment where things just start going up. Okay, and it doesn't mean like it's up only either. Again, things go up, they go down. When you zoom out, look at the bull market, that's how it is also. But it may get to the point where we have a lower low. Maybe the lower low is high 70s, low 80s, right? Like there's a lot of factors at play. Just realistically, what's getting me is that their time is kind of running out in a sense, right? So stuff to think about here. I'm willing to wait, but just keep in mind that it's possible that yes, we're waiting right now. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna get cheaper ASICs. Who knows what happens in 30 days from now, 60 days, 90 days from now. Anything can happen. Okay. Next unit, this is an interesting one just because there hasn't been a batch of these in quite a while, and this was slated to be a June batch. It seems like it was running late, but it does seem like most of the vendors do have it available for spot now. Okay, and this is the Antminer X5. It's that Monero, I don't want to say ASIC, it's a RISC-V. It's a bunch of CPUs, right? A bunch of RISC-V chips. Very interesting release, a very buggy release. I know a lot of people had issues, and that's probably what initially led to there being such a big delay. Was it quality control things, or was it just a really limited batch? It's hard to say, but there were quite a few people who did have major issues with this thing. So just keep that in mind, but very weird release, very interesting release. For any of you guys who are interested, check with your local vendor, see if it makes sense to you. On to the next one, and this is one we're still watching, right? We've been giving Goldshell a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, the product can make sense if the price is right? That's the biggest thing we're harping on, is that we're not necessarily dogging on the quality, we're dogging on the price points. If this price goes low enough prior to the release of the bigger units, it can make sense between what you can potentially mine between now and then, and the potential of maybe the hash rate doesn't go so high, so maybe you have a little bit more of the time there as well. Okay, but the price has to make sense. The price to me is still too high. Right now, this thing should be under 2. It should be like $19.99 shipped, meaning so like $1,800 or something. For it to make sense, and it needs to be like shipping where you're getting this thing in like 5 days kind of thing. At that point, it can still make sense, but right now it's currently still very overpriced. Okay, and it makes sense for it to be priced more than the AL0. This is another thing people are kind of getting twisted too. This thing's available now, so it does make sense for there to be a premium because it is available now. Not to this extent though, right? The argument was like, oh, well, you know, if you mine till now, till when those release, you'll make up that amount, but it's like, why go through that risk? Why not just get the AL0, avoid that risk just in case? What happens if the hash rate quadruples now and you didn't get to take advantage of that, right? So there's a lot of factors there, but again, if the price is right, it can make sense, but currently at this price, no. Okay, and then at this point, if they continue to wait without dropping it aggressively now, it's going to be a definite no, right? Because then at this point, again, we're a few days away from August. The iceriver unit can ship as soon as mid-August. Okay, so at this point, it's literally weeks. Okay, so it's kind of stupid on their part, because again, if it was on par, could make sense, but it's half the efficiency. Like the iceriver unit is just far superior. Okay, so risk to reward, maybe it could be worth it for you, but for me at these prices, still not yet. Same sort with the AL Box 1. Again, it's just one unit. So now let's start comparing some of these prices, and this is where things do get a little bit tricky. So we're gonna compare a new store. This is called asicplug.com. Zero affiliation with them, but somebody in the chat decided to try to plug them, saying that they have the best prices in North America shipped. So we're gonna put them to the test, right? So this isn't a dig at them. This is anything. We're just gonna compare them to kind of see where they stand, right? Because again, they're putting that in the chat in a YouTuber who tracks these things on the daily. Okay, so we're gonna put them to the test. We're going to compare some of these, which did have price drops, which is why we're going to talk about them. We're going to compare them to them and compare them to Crypto Miner Bros, which Miner Bros tends to be kind of the standard. They are on the high end, but like them and CMC are the standard, I guess you can say. CMC is more on the extreme high end in many cases, so we'll just use Miner Bros. Okay, so we're going to start out with the KS0 Ultra. Their prices are shipped. So the price you see here, it is fully shipped. Okay, so $389 for the Ultra, which we'll compare with Miner Bros. So it is cheaper than Miner Bros. Okay, so Miner Bros is $399. My beef with even this comparison though is nobody's ever heard of this store. We have zero knowledge of who runs this store. There's somebody in the community. Like, we have zero input, right? So it's, for me, if that's the case, you need to be aggressive with the price. There needs to be a reason for me to go with you over one of these extremely established stores, number one. Okay, I know they did an affiliate thing with like hobbyists, and that's kind of where they're starting from like an advertising point, but that to me doesn't mean anything, right? It's one thing if they became his main sponsor and he's backing them fully, but no, they sent him a unit, he did a review thing on it, which to me, as far as trustworthiness or credibility, that doesn't add anything to it, right? Because we've seen that. Not to dig any of the content creators, but we've seen that with multiples, right? We'll have a store, they'll send them a unit, and they'll talk about it that one time, and then that's it. Okay, which is kind of what it seems like it's here. So if they have the name, the reputation, they've been around for years, then yes, it makes sense to pay a premium for that. You're paying for that name, you're paying for that service. Would I do that? No, because in my opinion, these guys are just as credible, just people who've never really heard of them. I have purchased through them, and that's why I use them, because they have the better prices. Okay, it's that simple for me. So now let's show their price. So they are $185. This is not including shipping though. $100 shipping. So just at the base level, $285 in comparison to $389, right? Which is a pretty big difference considering the price point. Okay, if it's, you know, a unit that's $3,000, $100 really ain't that much of a difference. But when we're talking this small of a price point, that does kind of add up. And then especially when you couple with the fact that in this case, they do have like a little bulk sale. You buy 2 or more, $169, so $269 shipped. You buy 5 or more, $149, so $249 shipped. Okay, so it gets even more drastic, but that's not fair. Comparison, we'll just do 1 out of 1, right? So $185 to that, okay? So let's go to the next one. And this one did drop a little bit. We'll look at their price first. $49.30 shipped, which right off the bat is high because, again, a lot of you guys, we all purchased from Nhash. They were $43.99 plus the 200, so like $4,600 and change shipped. Okay, $49.30, kind of high. Miner Bros $50.99. Again, for them to be this close, I would definitely go with the name all day, right? But realistically, like we've purchased, it's the Nhash just had the better price. Okay, so 43, so let's say 45. So this one did go down. Did it go down $100? Not a lot, but it's something, right? And it's kind of trending in that direction. So the price here is like, oh, it's only $100. Like, yes, but if it's $100, if it's going downwards already, and the profitability is going down, price action is going down, what do you think may continue to happen, right? This is kind of giving us that eye, like, oh, there might be more price cuts here in the future. Okay. One that I didn't mention, I didn't put on here, is the fact that on Nhash at least, the KS5 Pro from Bitmain and the KS5, they have them as sold out. And some of the stores actually did increase the price. They had them for the 21 terahash unit, they had it like between 12 and 13. And I think it's just because it may have gotten limited. That batch may have actually really sold out. And that's why those prices went up, at least temporarily. This price action, whatever's left, it may go down a little bit, but just keep that in mind, right? So let's continue on. Let's go to the next unit. This is another Kaspa ASIC, and this is another one that did go down a little bit, so that's why we're mentioning it. So their price is $1,115, which again is high because that's higher than even the price point last month. For comparison, Miner Bros has it at $12.49. So from there, it looks like a decent deal until you see like Nhash's price, for example, which is $7.99 plus the $100 shipping, so $8.99, and they do have bulk discounts for this also. But just at the base level, it's $8.99 shipped, which again, there's no duties or anything in the US. That's the flat price, so $900, and then $11.15. Okay, so far not doing too hot. Let's continue down, and this is another one that did dip, and these prices are starting to get kind of juicy. It's the Jazz Miner, the X16Q. We'll compare the 1950 model. This is the full model, not the QE. This is the full one. They have it at $27.90 shipped. Let's see. Miner Bros has it at $3,000 shipped. Nhash has it at $22.89, but then like $200 shipping. I think they charge like the full size ASIC price shipping for this. So it'd be about $2,500-ish shipped. Okay. Again, it's like a 10% difference over the plug price thing. Okay. So pretty significant difference, but price point wise, we're trending downwards. This is what we want to see here. The one that's a little bit more appealing, for me personally at least, is the budget model. This is the one, again, only has 60 gigs of RAM, so factor that in. It may be a limiting factor for other coins. Okay, so factor that in for these other coins that you can mine. It could be a limiting factor, so think about that. And it's also just less hash rate, 1650 versus the 1950. but price goes down to 1809, so about 2000-ish shipped. Pretty freaking good, right? Profitability isn't the greatest right now, but it's something that is more sustainable. I do see those prices going up. Appealing. Definitely at this price point, especially like comparing it to like a GPU, comparing it to like a freaking 4090. It's about the same price. Not looking too bad. So prices there are definitely trending in the right direction. Let's go to the next one. And this is just one of the little mini at-home ASICs, the little mini Doge 3. They have it at 550 and Hash has it at 299, so 399 shipped, right? So pretty big difference there. Kind of coinciding with the Jazz Miner, and this is probably part of the reason that it seems like they are kind of competing each other with the Bombax unit. We did see a little reduction here as well. So these guys have the 3800 mega hash model at 4880. They have it at 5049. And Hash has it, did go down a little bit, it's down to 4349. So about 4550 shipped, so under 4600. So not bad. Okay, so what do we kind of notice here though in comparison to the full-size Jazz Miner? The Jazz Miner is about half of this thing. Okay, so they did that on the previous price reduction, now they're doing it again here. It's kind of interesting. Are they going to continue to go down? Maybe. In my opinion, this thing needs to be under 4, needs to be 39.99. And the closer to like 3503, the better. Will it go down that low? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe Jazz Miner comes in more aggressive. But this is trending in the right direction. And this is kind of where we're harping on with like competition. Okay, Jazz Miner finally has competition. It's forcing them to finally lower prices. And in this case, the competition is superior, at least to what they have available now. Okay, we all know that Jazz Miner is going to have that other model. So we're going to come potentially to the end of year Q1. And they didn't give us any updates, so the fact that they didn't give us any info, any of these shows, to me is signaling almost for sure that it's going to be pretty far down the road, right? Because even if it were in the next 2-3 months, they definitely would have at least had a prototype or the specs, like, hey, pre-order now. To me, that does give more credence to the end of year Q1 2025 timeline, okay? So factor in where prices are likely to be by then also, right? So definitely looking better here. Is definitely enticing. Again, to me, still a little overpriced considering the brand, right? So yes, the other guy is, this guy specifically is much more efficient than the Jazz Miner, percentage-wise, right? We look at the percentages, and it's a very significant difference. Real-world-wise, is it the biggest difference in the world? Is those like 500 watts gonna worth that price difference? It's up to you. Yes and no. And the main thing here is just the name, is the durability. That's kind of what has me iffy with Bombax. It's just we don't know, and it's one of those things that we don't know until it's happened. Okay, that's the downfall. You can look at it, it could look solid. Man, this thing is hefty. Internals look good. But it might be crap anyway. Like we don't know until, again, that 6 months to a year has passed. Like, oh yeah, it turns out it was a good unit. But I mean, at that point, it's also too freaking late. So for me, like, it has to be more, the price has to be more appealing for me to make that jump, right? In this case, though, I would definitely still consider this guy, though, again, because like I mentioned before, the advantage here in comparison to like the more industrial type ASICs is where this thing is going to be used. And like in my case, this thing would be indoors, okay? Filtered, nice cold air. It's not going to be in a strenuous environment. So that kind of like factors into the potential longevity for this thing, right? It definitely bodes in their favor for that, okay? Versus it being like, for example, in my garage, hot as hell. Even trying to have filtered air, it's still dusty and grimy in there. A lot harsher conditions, so it does have to be definitely a much more reliable, much beefier unit, right? But again, this one would essentially get more babied. So it's something I'm considering. We'll kind of have to wait and see what happens next month. Realistically, again, I did buy my KS5 Pro. That was one of the big purchases. But I do want to get one other ASIC, and I may do others, right? I may actually end up selling some of my others sooner than anticipated to make room for it. We'll see what we end up doing. I just really want to see where prices are. I want to see what things get announced next month. These next 2 months, at least for me, are going to be pivotal because by then, ideally, I want to be where I want to be at. Okay. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I just ride the others a little bit longer. Maybe the price pumps for them. Who knows? There's a lot of variables. We have to see what things get released, but that's just kind of the thought process for now. Okay. So those are the major changes this month. Again, realistically, more so than anything, it's just slight deviations, but that they're trending downwards, right? So if these next few weeks aren't the greatest, if we continue chopping sideways or we go down a bit, there's potential that we may see bigger dips this coming month. But realistically, what I'm definitely eyeing, this guy, the Jazz Miner unit, those script ASICs, and those Alephium ASICs. That's definitely where my focus is going to be. And if anything else new gets announced or teased or rumored, anything like that, right? But the interest is definitely going to be with the Alephium. I really wish they would have announced these Alephium ASICs a little bit sooner, just because that maybe could have taken some of the heat off of Kaspa. Maybe the freaking hash rate wouldn't have mooned so quickly, because now more people would be buying these AL0s instead of the K0 Ultras, etc., etc. But now that this guy is on the scene, like, even though, yes, the hash rate is getting hit extremely hard now, and it's going to get hit hard here in a few weeks, there's a possibility it may slow down a bit, right? Especially if price action stays sideways, these hardware prices stay sideways. That's kind of more bullish in a sense for anybody who does have existing hardware, because it reduces the chance, or the high chance, of prices going much downward, right? But who knows? Maybe that does happen, and iceriver says, you know what? F it, freaking KS5L down to like 3,000. It's like, oh shit. But then at that point, I may just freaking buy another one, right? It's, who knows, right? But I'm kind of like preparing for those scenarios. Realistically, though, I don't see that happening, just because, again, timeline-wise, we're so close to the potential start of the bullish action, right? And these manufacturers know. It's not like they're like, oh, it's not like they're oblivious to the fact they know also, right? So it's not, you have to look at these things from their perspective. And I think that's what kind of gives us the best insight, is just like zoom out, right? Like, pretend you're bitmain, pretend you're iceriver. Like, what would you do? What is going to maximize your profits? And that's probably where they're going to base their decision on. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, they're going to release a new ASIC or whatever. But it's like, if there's nothing else on the horizon, why are they going to do that? It doesn't make any sense for them. Are they planning? Probably. I'm sure they have new versions of every ASIC that's available now. But if they have no reason to release it, it makes more sense for them to wait as long as possible until we really get that price appreciation, because then they can sell that thing for much more. Okay, so once you put yourself in that mindset, things kind of make more sense, right? And things don't always make sense either, though, right? So you have to factor in, but you have to look at it as one of those possible scenarios, right? And that's kind of what helps us gauge these prices, where things are going, doing our guesstimations and things of that sort. Just because, again, we do want to be ready for when prices are here, because we want to scoop what we want to scoop up prior to these price increases. Okay, because it is going to get to a point where these ASICs are going to be even more stupidly priced than what they are now. Again, the fact that we're even considering buying these $10,000 ASICs, and that these $10,000 ASICs are a crazy good deal, borderline stupid, bros. But that's the climate we're in, right? And it's crazy to say. Okay, but let me know in the comments, guys. What are you guys excited about? Are you guys in the market for anything? Did you guys buy any of these AL0s? I know they're super enticing, but definitely gonna be a pivotal month this next month, with all these things dropping, the big Alephium, like, there's a lot of big things, right? And then general sentiment for August is pretty freaking bullish. So that's what kind of has me like, oh, like, unsure a little bit, right? Like, because again, once we kind of flip that switch, it's possible that we don't revert back too much. Okay, it's gonna be up and down. It's not up only, but who freaking knows? Let me know in the comments, guys, what you guys are doing, what you guys are buying. Are you guys waiting for the L9 as well? Did you guys pre-order one? Because it is one, realistically, I do want to get it sooner than later if I do decide to get one. But right now, that's probably very high on the list. It's definitely top 3 on the list. Okay. Let me know in the comments, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching, and I am out.